California is the most expensive state in America, and right now, the housing market is more dangerous than ever. Did you know that in some California cities, you need to work over 100 years just to pay off your home? That's not a dream. That's a financial prison. And thousands of buyers are walking straight into it. Right now, in 2026. Today, we're exposing the 10 most overvalued cities in California. The places where your hard-earned money could simply vanish overnight. We're counting down from number 10 all the way to the most dangerous real estate market in the entire state. Trust me, you do not want to miss number 1. It will completely change the way you think about buying a home in California forever. Number 10, Healdsburg, California. Let's kick things off with a city that most people have never even heard of, but one that should absolutely be on your radar in 2026. Welcome to Healdsburg, a small, beautiful wine country town tucked away in Sonoma County. On the surface, it looks like the perfect place to call home. Charming streets, world-class wineries, stunning views. It sounds like a dream, right? But here's where the dream turns into a nightmare. The median home price in Healdsburg has surged past $1.2 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. Over $1 million for a town of just 12,000 people. A town where the majority of jobs are in tourism and hospitality. Industries famous for low wages and zero job security. So who exactly is supposed to afford these homes? That's the question nobody is asking. And that's exactly what makes Healdsburg so dangerous for buyers in 2026. Here's what the real estate agents won't tell you. What you're really paying for in Healdsburg is a lifestyle premium, the wine country aesthetic, the weekend getaway feeling, the Instagram-worthy sunsets. And lifestyle premiums are always the first thing to collapse when the economy gets tough. They're built on emotion, not economics. And the market is already sending warning signals. Inventory is quietly rising. Homes are sitting on the market longer. Sellers are struggling to get their asking prices. These are the early signs of a market that is beginning crack. And smart buyers are already backing away. The bottom line? Healdsburg is a beautiful city, but a terrible investment in 2026. If you love the wine country lifestyle, go visit for the weekend. Enjoy the food, enjoy the views, but do not sign a mortgage until these prices come back down to reality. Number 9, Santa Ana, California. Moving on to number 9. And this one is going to hit very differently from Healdsburg, because we're not talking about a tiny wine country town anymore. We're talking about a major urban city with over 300,000 residents right in the heart of Orange County. Welcome to Santa Ana, and welcome to one of the most alarming examples of overvaluation hiding in plain sight. Here's what's happening. As neighboring cities like Irvine and Anaheim became completely unaffordable, desperate buyers started flooding into Santa Ana looking for a cheaper alternative. And that sudden rush of demand did something very predictable. It artificially exploded the prices in a market that was never built to handle them. The result? Median home prices in Santa Ana have climbed above $750,000. But here's the number that should truly stop you in your tracks. The median household income in Santa Ana is only around $65,000 to $70,000 per year. Do that math. That's a price-to-income ratio of nearly 11 to 1. The healthy, sustainable ratio that financial experts recommend? Just 3 to 1. Santa Ana isn't just overvalued. It's in a completely different financial universe from where it should be. And it gets worse. Santa Ana has always been a renter-dominated city. The housing stock was built for renters, not buyers. When you force ownership-level pricing onto a fundamentally rental market, you're not creating stability. You're creating a bubble that's just waiting to burst. The warning signs are already there for anyone willing to look. Affordability is collapsing. First-time buyers are being completely pushed out of the market. And the demand that drove these prices up, it's starting to quietly fade away. Santa Ana in 2026 is a city to watch closely, not a city to buy in. Your wallet will thank you for waiting. Number 8, Riverside, California. At number 8, we're heading inland, all the way to the Inland Empire, and specifically to a city that used to be the hero of the California housing story. Welcome to Riverside, California, and a tale of how yesterday's best-kept secret becomes tomorrow's biggest financial regret. Not long ago, Riverside was the answer that everyone was looking for. When Los Angeles became untouchable, when Orange County became a fantasy, Riverside was a city where regular, hard-working people, teachers, nurses, firefighters, everyday families, could actually afford to buy a home and build a life. It was real, it was affordable, and it made sense. But then something changed, and it changed fast. During the pandemic remote work boom, Riverside got discovered overnight. City workers from Los Angeles and San Francisco realized they could trade their tiny, overpriced apartments for an actual house with a backyard in Riverside and still keep their big city salaries. Demand exploded, and prices followed. The median home price in Riverside skyrocketed from around $350,000 in 2019 to over $550,000 today. That's a jaw-dropping 57% increase in just a few short years, while local wages barely move at all. And now, the remote work boom is over. Major companies are calling employees back to the office. The very people who drove Riverside's price surge are quietly packing up and heading back to the city. And the buyers who purchased at those peak prices, many of them are already financially underwater. Even more alarming, Riverside currently has one of the highest foreclosure inquiry rates in all of Southern California. That's not a small red flag. That's a massive warning siren that smart buyers should absolutely not ignore. Riverside was the right move 5 years ago. In 2026, patience is the only move that makes sense. Number 7. Palm Springs, California. At number 7, we're stepping into one of the most glamorous and seductive cities on this entire list. And trust me, the more beautiful a market looks on the outside, the more dangerous it can be on the inside. Welcome to Palm Springs, California, the desert oasis, the celebrity playground, the city of mid-century modern mansions, and turquoise swimming pools. It's stunning, it's iconic, and in 2026, it's one of the riskiest places to buy a home in the entire state. So what went wrong in paradise? Palm Springs got hit by two massive forces at the exact same time. First, wealthy second-home buyers flooded the market, snapping up properties as luxury retreats. Second, the short-term rental explosion turned the entire city into one giant Airbnb gold mine. Investors came rushing in from everywhere, driving prices to levels that had absolutely nothing to do with what a real local resident could ever afford. The result? Median home prices in Palm Springs have surged past $650,000 in a seasonal desert community where the population dramatically shrinks during the brutal summer months. Half the year the city is buzzing, the other half, nearly empty. But here's the part that should truly make buyers nervous in 2026. Palm Springs is now aggressively cracking down on short-term rentals. New regulations, stricter permit restrictions, outright bans in certain neighborhoods. For investors who bought at inflated prices and were counting on Airbnb income to cover their mortgage, this is nothing short of financial catastrophe waiting to happen. When you remove the short-term rental income from the equation, the numbers in Palm Springs simply do not add up anymore. Oversupply is building, demand is softening, and prices haven't adjusted yet. Palm Springs is paradise to visit. But in 2026, it's a financial desert for buyers. Wait for the market to cool before you dive in. Number 6, Sacramento, California. At number 6, we arrive at a city that was sold to buyers as the ultimate solution to California's housing crisis. The affordable alternative, the smart choice, the hidden gem that finally made homeownership possible again. Welcome to Sacramento, California, and welcome to one of the most convincing and dangerous narratives in the entire state's real estate market. Here's how the story was told. Sacramento had real job growth, a growing tech presence, a booming food scene, and home prices that were dramatically lower than the Bay Area. For buyers who were completely priced out of San Francisco and Silicon Valley, Sacramento felt like a lifeline thrown at exactly the right moment. And for a brief window, that story was completely true. But that window has firmly and permanently closed. Median home prices in Sacramento have exploded past $450,000, representing a staggering 60% increase from pre-pandemic levels. And here's the brutal truth that nobody wants to say out loud, the local economy was never built to sustain those kinds of numbers. Sacramento's job market is heavily anchored in government employment. Stable, yes, but famous for modest salaries that simply cannot support Bay Area style pricing. And now the demand that drove those prices is slowly evaporating. Remote workers who relocated from the Bay Area are getting called back to their offices in San Francisco and Silicon Valley. As they leave, they're taking their high incomes and their housing demand right along with them. The market is already responding. Inventory is rising. Homes are sitting longer. Bidding wars have completely disappeared. These aren't random coincidences. These are the classic early signals of a market that is quietly but clearly correcting itself. Sacramento was California's great hope for affordable homeownership. In 2026, buyers who wait will be the ones who win. Number 5, Oakland, California. We are now inside the top 5, and coming in at number 5 is a city that is bold, beautiful, and bursting with character. But underneath that energy lies a housing market that is sending some very serious and very urgent warning signals. Welcome to Oakland, California, a city with proud identity, a rich culture, and a real estate market that has been completely hijacked by forces that have nothing to do with Oakland itself. Here's exactly what happened. As San Francisco transformed into one of the most expensive cities on the entire planet, buyers and renters got completely priced out. So they crossed the Bay Bridge and landed in Oakland, searching for something remotely affordable. That sudden and massive surge in demand did exactly what you'd expect. It artificially inflated Oakland's prices to levels that are completely disconnected from local economic reality. Today, median home prices in Oakland sit above $700,000. In a city that has been simultaneously dealing with rising crime rates, major population outflow, and an exodus of big businesses. Whole Foods closed its doors. Major retailers packed up and left. Downtown foot traffic collapsed. These are not the fundamentals of a strengthening housing market. These are the unmistakable warning signs of a city under serious economic pressure. And here's the number that should concern every single buyer. More people are leaving Alameda County than moving into it. That's called negative demand pressure, and it means a population base that supports housing prices is actively shrinking. Yet the prices haven't adjusted to reflect that new reality. Oakland is still priced for the demand boom of 5 years ago, not for market conditions of 2026. That gap between price and reality is exactly where buyers get hurt. Oakland has an incredible spirit, but in 2026, that spirit comes with a price tag that simply cannot be justified. Wait for the correction before you commit. Number 4, San Diego, California. At number 4, we arrive at a city that consistently ranks as one of the most desirable places to live not just in California, but in the entire United States. And this one is tricky, because unlike some of the other cities on this list, San Diego actually has real, genuine, legitimate reasons to be expensive. Welcome to San Diego, California. Perfect weather, stunning coastline, a thriving biotech industry, a massive military presence, and a food scene that rivals anywhere in the country. San Diego is the real deal. But being a great city and being a smart buyer are two completely different things. And right now in 2026, the gap between those two things has never been wider. Median home prices across San Diego have crossed $900,000, approaching 7 figures in a city where the median household income sits at around $85,000 to $90,000 per year. That's a price-to-income ratio of nearly 10 to 1. Even with San Diego's strong economic fundamentals, that number is simply not sustainable over the long term. Here's what's really happening beneath the surface. The buyers who are actually purchasing homes in San Diego right now are increasingly doing so with pooled family income, outside wealth, or massive financial help from relatives. That means the apparent demand holding up these prices is far more fragile and artificial than it appears on the surface. First-time buyers? They've been completely wiped out of this market. Completely. The entry level has disappeared. And when first-time buyers disappear from a housing market, the entire chain of transactions that keeps a market healthy begins to break down. San Diego will always be a world-class city. That will never change. But world-class city does not mean world-class time to buy. In 2026, with prices at historic highs and affordability at historic lows. Waiting in San Diego is not giving up. It's called playing smart. Number 3, Long Beach, California. We are now in the top 3, and coming in at the bronze position is a city that is going to genuinely surprise a lot of people watching this right now. Because this city doesn't carry the same flashy reputation as the 2 cities still come. But make absolutely no mistake about it. Welcome to Long Beach, California, and welcome to one of the most quietly dangerous real estate markets in the entire state. Here's why Long Beach shocks people. Most buyers don't think of Long Beach as an ultra-premium market. It's known as a port city, industrial, working class, unpretentious. It sits in the shadow of its more glamorous neighbors. And that reputation makes buyers feel like they're getting a reasonable deal when they purchase here. But that feeling is an illusion and an expensive one. Over the past 5 years, Long Beach has been completely repositioned in the housing market. As neighboring coastal communities like Seal Beach and Naples became completely untouchable, buyers got pushed directly into Long Beach, and that wave of displaced demand drove prices to absolutely shocking levels. Median home prices in Long Beach now exceed $800,000 in desirable zip codes for a port city, for a working-class community, for a city whose entire economic foundation is built on an industry, port and shipping, that is currently facing massive disruption from shifts in global trade and supply chain restructuring. And here's the hidden cost that buyers almost always miss. Property taxes, home insurance, and HOA fees in Long Beach have all surged dramatically at the same time. When you add up the real total cost of ownership, the monthly reality of living in Long Beach in 2026, buyers are effectively paying luxury prices for a non-luxury return. Long Beach is hard in character. But in 2026, the numbers tell a story that no buyer should ignore. Patience here is not weakness. It is wisdom. Number 2, Los Angeles, California. We are down to the final 2, and coming in at the runner-up position is a city that needs absolutely no introduction. A city that the entire world knows by name. A city that has been selling the dream of sunshine, success, and stardom for over a century. Welcome to Los Angeles, California, the entertainment capital of the world, a global powerhouse, an iconic metropolis. But in 2026, also one of the most financially treacherous places to buy a home in the entire country. And the numbers tell a story that is impossible to ignore. Median home prices across Los Angeles County now sit between $850,000 and $950,000, with desirable neighborhoods pushing well past $1.5 million. And yet, at the exact same time, Los Angeles has been experiencing something truly alarming. The city is losing residents year after year. California's own Department of Finance has confirmed that Los Angeles County has been bleeding population for multiple consecutive years. Let that sink in for a moment. Population is leaving, and prices are still rising. That is a textbook definition of a market built on illusion, not on reality. And then came the 2025 wildfires, a devastating tragedy that added an entirely new layer of financial risk to an already fragile market. Entire neighborhoods were wiped off the map. Insurance companies began pulling out of California entirely. The ones that stayed, they dramatically raised their premiums to levels that many homeowners simply cannot afford. Buying a home in Los Angeles in 2026 means taking on a mortgage, sky-high property taxes, and an insurance crisis all at the same time. That's not just buying a home. That's taking on a full portfolio of financial risk that previous generations of buyers never had to face. Los Angeles will always be iconic. But in 2026, iconic comes at a price that no smart buyer should be willing to pay right now. Number 1, San Francisco, California. And here we are, number 1, the moment you've been waiting for. The most overvalued city in the entire state of California in 2026. And if you have been watching this list from the very beginning, deep down, part of you already knows which city this is. Welcome to San Francisco, California. Once the crown jewel of American real estate. Once the most exciting, most lucrative, most electric housing market in the entire country. The city where fortunes were made overnight and property values seem to defy every law of gravity. But gravity always wins. Always. Here is the cold, hard, uncomfortable truth about San Francisco in 2026. The fundamental engine that powered this market for 2 decades has been broken. The tech boom that made San Francisco's housing market legendary has scattered to the 4 winds. Major tech companies have dramatically downsized their San Francisco presence. High-income remote workers permanently relocated to other cities and other states. And the result? Office vacancy rates in San Francisco's downtown core have exceeded a staggering 30%. 30%. Empty buildings, empty desks, empty streets where there was once unstoppable energy and unlimited money. And yet, median home prices in San Francisco remain stubbornly above $1.2 million. The market is still priced for a version of San Francisco that quite simply no longer exists. That gap between yesterday's fantasy and today's reality is exactly where buyers get absolutely crushed. The city is simultaneously battling population loss, retail closures, urban safety concerns, and a business confidence crisis that has been making national headlines for years. These are not temporary problems. These are deep, structural challenges that will take many years to fully resolve. San Francisco may rise again. This great city has survived earthquakes, recessions, and reinventions before. But in 2026, buying here means betting your life savings on a recovery that has no guaranteed timeline. And that is a bet that no smart buyer should be willing to make. And there you have it. The 10 most overvalued cities in California, where buyers in 2026 should seriously, carefully, and urgently consider waiting before making any move. From the wine country illusion of Healdsburg, all the way to the broken dream machine of San Francisco, one thing has been crystal clear throughout this entire list. These markets are not priced on economic reality. They are priced on emotion, speculation, and a version of California that is rapidly changing right before our eyes. And here's the single most important thing to take away from everything you just watched. Waiting is not losing. In a market that's overvalued, in an environment that's unstable, patience is not weakness. Patience is your most powerful financial weapon. Every month you wait, every market signal you study, every correction you let happen before you buy, that is money staying in your pocket where it belongs. The California dream is real. Beautiful weather, incredible opportunities, a lifestyle that the rest of the world genuinely envies. California will always have value. But right now, in 2026, that value is buried underneath prices that simply cannot be justified by the data, the wages, or the economic fundamentals on the ground. The smart buyers are not rushing. They are watching. They are researching. They are positioning themselves to move at exactly the right moment, not the most emotionally exciting moment. Be the smart buyer. If this video opened your eyes and gave you something real to think about, please hit that like button right now and make sure you subscribe so you never miss our latest market breakdowns. Drop a comment below and tell us which city shocked you the most. We will see you in the next one. Stay smart, stay patient, and never let a beautiful zip code blind you to the numbers.